Welcome to this tutorial on Peggy Lego, how to teach the basics of pre-writing. Peggy Lego, what is it? Peggy Lego is a simple tool that helps children learn pre-writing patterns. This is a precursor to learning the shapes and formations of letters that we often learn in the early years of school, and it's really important that we start with learning these correct formations to form these simple element patterns. All letters of the alphabet in the Peggy Lego program can be broken down into just 7 pencil movements, and we're going to go through them today. The Peggy Lego patterns include tall man, a straight vertical line, a small man, a short vertical line, sideways sideways, a straight horizontal line. It also includes Jack and Jill, a zigzag line, a movement where it goes up and over the gate, down and under the gate, and a broken wheel, which is called starts with a click, goes up and around. What makes Peggy Lego program different to a lot of other pre-writing programs is it includes a whole body learning experience. It really considers how understanding and learning this movement pattern required for forming a letter is taught through a gross motor action, having a tactile or sensory-based experience, having consistent verbal cues and consistent visual cues. And this is why it can be so successful for a number of children learning these early shapes. Peggy Lego is a great way to introduce the concept of drawing letters in the correct way and for letter formation. It can also be helpful in early drawing skills, such as teaching a child how to draw a house. The key is having that consistent accompanying rhyme that helps children remember how to learn to form the patterns. It simplifies letters of the alphabet into different pencil movements, so they're not constantly thinking about which letter, what does it look like. All they have to recall is which pattern does it look like. Is it a tall man or is it a sideways sideways? That recall then allows the letter to become formed easily. How can we use Peggy Lego in the classroom? We can use Peggy Lego in the classroom by whole body movements, and it's as simple as setting up a simple obstacle course or creating a gross motor action for the actual pattern. You can say the rhyme consistently in the class so people are familiar with what the terminology is. You could play Spotto in the playground where they have to go on a treasure hunt and find the Peggy Lego shapes in their playground. You can write Peggy Lego patterns in Play-Doh, drawing it in sand with shaving cream, rice, sand trays. Wiki sticks can help form the letters and the shapes, or even pipe cleaners. You could do Peggy Lego bingo where they've got to find the right shape quickly, Peggy Lego flashcards, and then eventually, once the children have learnt all the shapes and patterns, getting them to find the Peggy Lego shapes in their alphabet letters, especially those in their name. Some other ways to use it in the classroom. You need to always consider teaching one pattern at a time initially. You might want to reinforce this pattern over the week whilst they're at school, but it's really important to teach one pattern at a time and then let the child learn and consolidate that pattern. When you're introducing a new pattern, always make sure you teach all the patterns before you move on to letters. And you always need to include a gross motor action, the verbal cue of the rhyme, a tactile or sensory-based experience before you trial it with a writing tool. It might be important to repeat teaching of the tricky patterns, such as start with the click. This is often a pattern where the children will reverse the movement that's required. Children always usually master the tall man and the sideways sideways quite quickly, but some of the patterns become a bit trickier as they require more complex motor actions. You can also then move on to letter formations by introducing letters in categories. So you might start teaching all the tall man letters, and then you might start teaching all the starts with the click letters, such as an A, a C, a G. You might find some of the children in your class get stuck They might get stuck forming letters and pre-writing patterns because they are a complex motor task and they might take a lot of repetition for that child with a motor difficulty or for any child within a mainstream setting. The key for this is repetition. So as well as being repetitive, it's important that we use the whole body sensory input, and this is why Peggy Lego is so effective. You can encourage families to talk about shapes at home, and this can be as simple as drawing them in the bath with soap crayons, drawing them on the shower screen with their finger, drawing on the air, or even tickling them on their back and trying to get them to guess what shape pattern it was. Always encourage families to master the Peggy Lego patterns or pre-writing patterns before they really encourage the child to commence letter writing at home. What's important is the child learns to write the letter correctly, and Peggy Lego patterns will help them learn the letter correctly. If they start a motor pattern incorrectly with the letter formation, then it can be very hard to undo that error. You also might need to consider if the child's getting stuck on learning how to do these patterns, maybe there's another factor that's impacting on their learning. It could be the physical grip or manipulation of the pencil, or it might even be other motor skills such as crossing the midline or bilateral integration. So I'm just going to recap now what the actual shapes are and what they look like and what the verbal cue is. So first of all, we have a tall man and a short man. The rhyme for tall man is tall man starts at the top, pulls down and stops. Short man starts in the middle, pulls down and stops. The next one is sideways, sideways. We are going sideways, sideways to the magic land. So you can see for both tall man and sideways, you could even do a simple gross motor action such as reaching for the air and pulling down to the ground for tall man. And for sideways, sideways, it could be as simple as sideways walking along a piece of rope. The next pattern is called the broken wheel, or I often just call it starts with a click. And that's often enough of a verbal prompt for children to remember what they're talking about. And for this pattern, we start at the top, we start with a click, and we go around and stop. You can vary the words a little bit if you think it might be easier for your child to understand it, but as long as we keep it simple and repetitive, that's the key. The next pattern is Jack and Jill went up the hill and down the hill. Now we have down and under the gate, up and over the gate. Letters that you find that are tall man include T, K, L, B, D. Sideways, sideways, a lot of capital letters use this, such as H, A, but also the letter T. Starts with a click, includes your A, your C, your G, your Q. Your Jack and Jills include your M's and your W's, depending on the font that you're choosing to use. You might also be using down and under the gate for your W's or your U's or your V's. And your up and over the gates include your H, your N as well. If you'd like some further information regarding the Peggy Lego pattern program, please feel free to email lil.peeps@hotmail.com, where you can access some resources on how to embed this in your classroom. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and please post any comments you have below.